This is Les Strong, and you're listening to the Fulham Focus podcast.
Fulham.
Hello and welcome to the Fulham Focus podcast. My name is JMac and I'm your host for today's show in the comfort of my own living room with a lovely G&T to my left and some filet mignon to my right. In this pod we will be discussing the Watford, Wareford, Halford and Wyford of our defence and Slav's thought process. Then we shall have the quiz where eternal glory awaits my co-hosts and you lovely lot at home, followed by Millwall and Everton sneak peeks, a peppering of fantasy football tips, and least importantly, how many Elton John puns I can get away with without any of you lot noticing. But first, we'd like to offer a huge thank you to former Whites left-back Les Strong, who not only introduced this week's show, but who also talked to Danny a little later on in our Memory Lane feature about the last time Fulham won at Goodison Park, an FA Cup fifth-round match that he played in himself in 1975 as the Whites made their way to Wembley for what was the only time in our history up until very recently. Les made 372 appearances for Fulham, scoring 5 goals in an 11-year spell, and is very much part of the club, and even hosts matchday hospitality in the Haynes Lounge. Absolute legend. Be sure to check out the full Q&A with Danny, and you can find it on the Fulham Focus website in the usual place. Les Strong, we salute you. And my co-hosts tonight shall be Matt Boisclair and Matt Domm, but for the sake of tonight, we'll call them Matt B and Matt D. All right, let's go.
Fulham.
Right, gents, a quick recap, then we'll get into some questions firing. So, we conceded in a matter of seconds once again in another half of football, and were outmuscled and outplayed in every category. Mitro getting no service whatsoever, but getting a clear penalty denied. There's a fat Tom Kenny-shaped hole in our midfield. Fosu Mensah nearly being sent off for a terrible challenge on Troy Deeney, but Marcus Bettinelli showing his class throughout. They should have seen us off, and it could have all been goodbye Yellow Brick Road from there. But second half, we actually had a plan B. We were a different mustard altogether with 2 key subs being made, then finally Anguissa coming on in the 64th minute. We were quicker, more dangerous and defensively a lot sounder, with Mitro claiming the equaliser in the 77th minute and so close to getting a second. And therefore, we're still standing with a point. So all in all, a game of 2 halves, a song of ice and fire, and I'm going to start with you, Matt B. With Watford's excellent start and, with them keeping the same starting lineup for the 6th game in a row this season. I mean, a point is a good result, right? I mean, they have, after all, beaten Spurs and were very unlucky against United.
Well, yeah, evening, gents.
Hello,
I before the game, I thought we needed 3 points from this. They'll probably be around us in the table at the end of the season, but after their excellent start, I don't know. But certainly at the start of the season, you think Watford at home, they're on a similar par to us in terms of size of club, and we should really be aiming to beat them if we're looking to achieve anything this season. But given the way that we defended in the first half, I really thought we'd blown it. We could have been 3 or 4 down at half-time. And although we changed it, Slav changed it at half-time, and we did improve. We looked much better, much more assured at the back and better going forward. Watford were excellent at the back. Watford's defence, they crowded us out well, didn't give us much time or space on the ball, and I couldn't really see an equaliser coming. So when it did, it was fantastic. And as you say, we almost went and won it at the end. All in all, a point is a decent result given the way that the game panned out. Although at the moment I am struggling to see where the next win's going to come from with a couple of tough ones coming up.
Yeah, very good indeed. And so, Matt D, what do you think of the result in the end? I mean, did you think we could have possibly scraped it towards the end, or was a draw a fair result in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, as bad as we were in the first half, we were equally good in the second. And to give it another 5 or 10 minutes, I think we would have won it. And I think if we had won it, I don't think they could have had too many complaints. With the way Slav changed it up in the second half, we improved so much. Credit to him for that. I just, you kind of wish that he'd gone with the right lineup in the first place, and that's a different issue. Mitro hit the crossbar with his header, and Yeah, I think overall on balance, one terrible half, one great half. You've got to be happy with the point, as bad as we started.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Matt B, we finally got to meet in the flesh actually at half time, have a drink. Yeah, it was lovely seeing your pretty face, mate. It was really nice. Had a lovely Guinness with you, and I've got to hear your rant. When you saw the lineup, what did you think? Because you said you were going to go to town on this pod. I'd love to know what your angle was.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to go over the same points that I covered last week, but I feel like I need to touch upon them because it was much the same, really. I mean, Johansson starting again. I didn't agree with that. I think it's time Anguissa gets some game time from the start. When he came on, he looked really good. He looked assured. He looked a class above. I thought Johansson offered us nothing, to be honest, on the pitch for this game. I thought he was a passenger, and he didn't influence the game. As I said last week, I like Stefan Johansson, but he's out of his depth at this level. So that was the first one. The second one, I couldn't believe Joe Bryan was dropped from the squad altogether. Unless he's injured. Mate. I really don't know what he's done wrong. He must have really upset Slav. And I fully expected to see him back in the side, especially at home, because he's a good attacking option. I can kind of forgive it in an away game when our backs are against the wall against Man City, when we're going to need to do a lot of defending and not necessarily sending our fullbacks bombing down the wing. But for this one, I thought surely he's got to be in the side. And then again, we've had 6 games and we've had 6 different combinations of defenders now. And I really think Slav needs to make a decision sooner rather than later on who his best defenders are. He's obviously made his mind up on the attack, and I'm not sure I agree with that either, because I'd probably have Sessegnon in for Vietto, simply because I like Sessegnon playing further forward. I don't think he's the best left back we've got, but I like him being in the team. But I also think Vietto is probably one of the best impact subs we could have. Imagine that coming on after sort of 70 minutes against a tiring defence, the way he runs at people. His end product wasn't quite there on Saturday, apart from the fact that he did set up the equaliser, but there were other missed opportunities that he had. For example, when he was played in by Schürrle in the first half, and his first touch was good, he got in front of the defender, and then his second touch, he took it back away from goal again. Whereas if he'd have gone towards goal, I think he might have scored. So I'd probably have Vietto as an impact sub, and him and Camara on the bench would look quite tasty, I think, in terms of how can we change the game? We need a goal. We've got these 2 guys we can bring on, whereas at the moment we've got Camara who can be a bit of a loose cannon at times. So I'm really frustrated, to be honest. I think we're a really good side. I think we've got some exceptional players and we've got a really good manager. And I just don't think we're utilising these players to the best of our ability at the moment.
Absolutely, and we'll move on. We'll come to Vietto a bit later on, so I've got a couple of points I want to make about him for sure. But this is, like you said, this is our 6th different defensive combination in 6 games, and I'm starting to think Mawson was taken off at half time, and he was just not doing his job as the pocket man, and it was a complete shambles. I mean, I've never seen so many centre backs hitting the ball just kept bouncing off their shins constantly. It was like there was just not a relationship between Mawson and Chambers whatsoever. Now, Matt D, beg your pardon, do you think it's possible that Mawson was being placed on the right as basically to try and see if Tim Ream will slowly come in the left and play alongside him in the future?
I think so, yeah. I mean, when all is said and done and Slav's got to settle back for, I would imagine it's Ream and Mawson in the middle. And I think I might be wrong, but I'm sure the only reason Mawson got moved to the left for Swansea was to say Kyle Norton could play alongside him because he's unable to play on the left. So I think Mawson is good there and is used to playing there. But Chambers certainly isn't. And he's an accident waiting to happen at the best of times. But if you put him on the left, he was absolutely terrible. I think there were 3 separate mistakes in that very first chance that they scored from Chambers alone. And then, he could have thrown away all of our good work again in the second half with another calamitous, I don't even know what he was doing, but, he got the ball stuck under his foot. And funnily enough, I thought when I saw the lineup, I thought Chambers and Mawson, they've played together for the England under-21s. They've probably got a good understanding already. And I wasn't that disappointed by it, but seeing them together, especially, left and right, or whatever, inverted centre backs, whatever you want to call it, it didn't work. Sort of mentioned Sessegnon as well. I think as much as he's not a left back, his defensive work has been okay in the last 2 games. So my kind of problem is Watford play a very narrow game, and especially playing them at home, you think there'll be quite a lot of space, especially from deep, to cross the ball. And isn't that what Joe Bryan's in the team for? He's got that delivery, and Sessegnon somehow he seems to be lacking a bit of confidence. He doesn't seem to be getting any power in his delivery. I can't quite work it out what's wrong with his game, but he's not. He doesn't seem like he's 100% committed to everything. And it was the perfect game for Bryan, I think, because there was a lot of opportunities where Sessegnon from 30, 40 yards out could have picked out Mitrovic, but he didn't have the right delivery, which I think Bryan would have had. So that was kind of my big frustration about that decision from Slav. And, as Matt said, pick a 4, go with it, see how they go for a few games. And if it's not working, change it then. We're 15% of the way through the season and no one's got a clue what our best back 4 is going to be. So he needs to make a decision now, I think.
Yeah, quite right. And I think what's interesting about it is that, Slav knew as soon as the horror show started and less than 3 minutes in of the first goal, I could tell that Slav, watching the game live, I could see that Slav was not happy at all. And the decision that he made at half-time to bring Odoi on and then to take also Johansson off and also to bring on, I believe, who was the other person that he decided to bring on? Aite, that's right. Now, I find it absolutely staggering how Odoi makes us feel more comfortable than any other centre-back I've seen for a very long time, since Tim Ream's absence anyway. I just want to say, Odoi, our own little tiny dancer, came on and he was outstanding. Honestly, I've never felt so comfortable watching him. And what's going on? Matt B, what do you think? Why is it that it takes Odoi for us to feel comfortable?
Well, I said this on the WhatsApp chat on Saturday evening, and I feel like he's like a comfortable pair of shoes that we're all used to relaxing in. We know he's going to make some mistakes as a centre back, and he has done in the past. But generally, he's been very reliable. He's a fullback by trade, remember, and he came in for Callas. I think it was against Bristol City away last season, perhaps, and then made the position his own for the rest of the season. And he barely put a foot wrong. As I say, he made a couple of mistakes, but he's got such a leap on him for a smaller guy, and he's solid. And now we've got these new marquee players, especially Mawson, who comes with the transfer tag hanging around his neck. And to continue the shoe analogy, he's smarting a little bit. We're not used to having him on, and he's making our feet quite sore at the moment. He's certainly making the defence quite sore, and he had an absolute shocker. And I don't think I fully appreciated quite how bad his performance was until I saw it back on Match of the Day. And, he was jumping up for balls and they were going over his head. Then he tried that back pass when he didn't realise Andre Gray was between him and Bettinelli. And it's interesting as well with Mawson that he's the one who's said in the press recently that, he won't stand for bad defending. Yeah, he was the worst culprit at the weekend. So Dennis Odoi is in the team on merit at the moment, and I expect him to start this weekend, to be honest.
Yeah, as do I. He'll be good even against Millwall, potentially. Matt D, do you think that Aite was the good call to bring on for McDonald?
I was pretty surprised at the time. I probably said in the WhatsApp chat as well, what on earth is a defensive midfielder coming off for a left winger? But he had a great game, particularly at the start of the second half when he was tracking back on that flank a lot, and he had a big part to play in us, wrestling control of the game. So that was a good decision. Both of those halftime substitutions were excellent. So I can't fault Slav for that, but I can fault him for having to wait until we've made 2 substitutions before we've got the right team. But the one where he moved Schürrle up the pitch in the middle, took off a central midfielder. In a way, we were under pressure. Our defence was terrible in the first half, and his solution, instead of as well as bringing on Odoi, was put on a number 10. Put 3 in behind Mitrovic and take the pressure off the defence that way by getting a lot of the ball and taking possession. And, for that, it was brilliant. Both of his subs, and the one, we've said about Johansson, and I've defended Johansson a lot, and I'm starting to, there's not much more I can say. Maybe I was wrong with it about him, but Anguissa coming on as well was another good sub, and I think he made the right call with all three of them. But I'd like to see him make the right call from the start.
Let me ask you this, guys, then. So, having watched that first half at the weekend, if you were Slav at half-time, what would you have done? Because it's quite clear that something needed to change. But for me, I would not have looked at that and thought, right, the one person I need to take off is Kevin McDonald. I just didn't see it coming. I didn't think he was that bad. I would certainly not have laid the blame at his feet. I mean, obviously, taking him off, it worked. So I was just be interested to hear what you guys maybe would have done.
I personally would have kept McDonald on, and I wouldn't have put Ayeti on, but I would have had Anguissa come on, and I would have had because we started playing it, by the sounds of it, a 4-2-3-1. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think I would have had Anguissa starting to begin with, but I mean, enough of that. I would have had Anguissa definitely on for Johansson, and I would have probably kept McDonald alongside him. I wasn't expecting that Ayeti for McDonald would work, but it did pay off, and he actually, funnily enough, Floyd has got something to offer us in this league that I didn't think he would. I mean, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised how well he played. Before that, I wasn't really considering it as an option. Even Cabano probably would have been ahead of him, but it's easy to forget that he is really good on the defensive side of the game, and when you're under pressure, that really helped. It really helped Sessegnon out. I think, even though Sessegnon was pretty strong and he held his own, that tracking back just took some of the pressure off and let us focus on our attacking game. I don't think he was as effective when he went onto the right afterwards. Back to kind of Matt's question, I'd have also brought on Anguissa for Johansson, and I'd have been tempted. Did we have a left back on the bench? But I'd have been tempted to put Sessegnon further up and taken Vieto off. To be honest, Le Marchand on the back. I'd have taken Vieto off at half time, I think, because that miss and those two misses in quick succession really did kind of annoy me, and it was that kind of, he was making good runs, but that end product just wasn't there. But again, credit to Slav for keeping him on because he got an assist.
Just wonder whether we'll start to see less and less of McDonald when Kearney gets fit, because I can't see him leaving Anguissa out for much longer. I think Anguissa is going to start more often than he doesn't going forward. Hope so anyway. But then when Kearney's back, I think McDonald might find himself on the bench a bit more.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned Kearney, mate, because I used to think that Seri and Kearney had too much of a similar role, but my God, did we miss him in this game? I remember saying to you at half time, I've never seen us with such a open Tom Kearney shaped hole in our midfield as ever in this game as I had. Really quite amazed how much there was just no connection to the midfield and the forwards without Tom Kearney that day. And I mean I found Seri's passing to be actually a little bit fragile, similar to it was last week against Man City.
Yeah, I agree, and it's funny, isn't it? People spent so much time over the first couple of games talking about whether or not Seri and Kearney can play together, and then all of a sudden you see that actually we do miss Kearney when he's not playing. Also, after being really critical of Seri's corners in last week's show, I thought they were much better at the weekend.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, actually. And I thought generally our crossing was a lot better in the game. And Vieto's assist was phenomenal. The lovely little turn he did to make it happen was great. Now, for Mitrovic's goal, let's talk about Mitrovic, because, I mean, how good can he be and how many goals do you think he'll score this season? Because there is something about this guy. He is just like a real sort of champion for us. I mean, just the way he celebrates the goal he scored, even when Marcus Bettinelli saved that penalty a couple of weeks ago, and he just slapped him round the face with passion. You know what I mean? You've got a real flamethrower on our hands here, no? What do you think, Matt D?
What can you say about Mitrovic that hasn't already been said? He's an absolute monster. And as you say, it's that passion. He's found his place in this team. A team that plays attacking football around him, involves him in all the attacks. And 15 goals. I would be surprised if he didn't get 15 at this point. Perhaps he's got an outside chance of 20. Looking at our defence, I think we'll need him to get 20 if we're gonna stay up. But there was one thing I thought about his performance in the first half. He was, I can't remember their centre back's name. I think of the Colombian guy. He was getting the better of him, and he was frustrating him, and he was kind of pulling his shirt at corners. And Mitrovic he had to get spoken to by the referee, and he looked like he was getting really wound up.
Yeah,
and I thought he's getting sent off here. And I think when he was at Mitrovic, he would have done, but that shows that his change in the last year, where he turned that kind of frustration into a dominant second half performance, and he got the goal for us. And he's unlucky not to get 2 goals. And I think that's where that difference is, and that's probably the Slav effect. So we've got an absolute world-class goal scorer in our hands.
Mr. Boisclair, what do you think? How many goals can he reach for us this season?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't get 15, especially with the start he's made. I think the local press up in Newcastle asked Benitez, "Oh, do you still think it was a good idea to sell him?" And he kind of played it very straight, and he just said, sometimes a player can go to another club and just find their feet, and it just works for them at a particular club. And I think a combination of the club and the fact that he's playing for Slav worked really in his favour, and it's given his career a real shot in the arm, to be honest. And we're the real beneficiaries of that. He's been absolutely outstanding. People would say, "Oh, well, can he still do it in the Premier League?" He's nearly £30 million. Is he worth that? He's not really got the track record of doing it in the top 5, but now he's banging them in. He's scoring all types of goals. He's getting in the positions, and he loves the club. He really plays for the badge. And look at the way he celebrated the goal. He celebrated more than I did, I think, for the equaliser against Watford. So really delighted to have him.
I felt sorry for Vieto in that celebration, actually. I thought he was going to destroy him.
just smash his face off, yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that again. So Vieto, I'm getting a lot of love and hate thoughts from him, about him at the moment. So when I saw him up into the goal, I found him quite frustrating, quite weak on the ball. But the engine of his pace and stamina was there, of course. But guys, so Matt B, what do you think of Vieto? Because I've got this feeling that he's not really as much of a winger as he seems.
Well, one thing's for sure, he's not a forward. And I think he came as a forward, didn't he?
Yes.
But he just doesn't look like the sort of guy who's going to score many goals. Even when he gets in the positions, he's one of those players who you think, oh, it's 50-50. Whereas, I don't know, a Louis Saha, for example, through one-on-one, you just think the goalkeeper might as well stand aside. That ball's going in the back of the net. Whereas Vieto, his decision-making, as I said earlier in the show at the weekend, wasn't great. And he could have scored that one-on-one if he'd have just taken the touch towards goal. I like him. He seems like he's got a good attitude. He's quick. But as I say, I think he'd be better on the bench.
Interesting. What about you, Matt D? What are your thoughts on Vieto? Should he be on the bench, or is he a definite starter for us?
Not a definite starter. I agree. I don't think he's a winger in that. I don't think he's going to consistently show the level of performance he did, against Burnley, where he had a fantastic game. I see him a bit more central. I agree he's not necessarily a goal scorer, but I think he's got a role to play, and whether that role might be putting him up just behind Mitrovic in a game where we're going to dominate the possession, because he's that sort of player who I think will create a lot of space.
Yes.
Because defenders will step off him because they're not quite sure what he's going to do. He's direct. He's got good footwork. He's really good at controlling the ball close to him. So he's an option. Whether if Kenny's out again, whether Schürrle might play central. We'll come to that later, I'm sure. But I think I see him more central than a wide man, because he doesn't really hit the line and create space down the flank. And it all got a bit narrow in the first half. And even when he moved over to the left, the chance it came from wide, but it was still very kind of edge of the box. So yeah, I think he'll make a good impact sub. But for now, he's playing well enough to keep his place, I'd say.
Right. And we will move on to the Schürrle thing in due course, and we'll talk about formation. But we just got to quickly, before the last question, before the Slavis action rating, is to just ask you guys, with this plan B that Slavica installed in the second half, do you think this could potentially become the new primary way of playing teams, or the bigger teams at least? Matt B, I'll go to you.
It's difficult to say, isn't it? again, whether it's a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 or whatever the formation is, it comes down to the personnel, and we need to start getting that right. I don't want to keep saying stop tinkering with the team, but I'm going to say it again anyway. Pick your starting 11, stick with it, and whatever formation works best for those players, then do it. But for me, it comes down to the players.
Yeah, and this raises a good topic actually. Matt D, do you think Slav hasn't picked a constant starting 11 yet, purely because of Tim Ream and Tom Kearney and their injury problems?
Possibly. I mean, I think we all thought Tim Ream would be left centre back number one. It's weird how long he's been out for, because there wasn't much made of it at the time. I know he's back in training now, so hopefully he might get a start against Millwall, or he might get minutes against Everton. But definitely he's trying to work out, if not Ream, then who. But it comes back to he needed to pick four, and it didn't work. He changed it. It didn't work again. He changed it. If it doesn't work for a couple of games running, sure, change it. But I think there needs to be at least a bit of consistency in the back four. With Tom Kearney, there was a gaping hole in the first half, like you said. He just plays a bit further up the pitch, and that's what we need. The three centre midfielders we picked were all a bit too deep. So I see when Kearney's in there, I can see Anguissa replacing JMac, and then Seri to kind of play the more Johansson box to box role. And I think the three of them will work really well. But Ream, when he's in, he'll start, and Kearney, when he's in, he'll start. So I think there's not much more to it than that, really.
Yeah, fantastic. I completely agree. And so, all right, guys, we're going to go on to the Slavisaction rating. Are you ready for Slav? Now, Matt B, talk to me. I'm going to be in so much trouble for this. Matt B, please give me your Slavisa rating out of 10.
It's another 5, I'm afraid. No progress since last week. Same reasons for last week. Too many changes, too many mistakes caused by potential confusion of the continuation of the changing of the team. So it's 5 out of 10.
Matt D?
I'll give him a 6. First half, I mean, it is partly a big part his bad team selection, but you can't really, these players should still know how to play football to a certain extent without the manager. But second half, he made some brilliant changes, and we could have gone on to win it. So he deserves credit for that. So I'm going to give him a notch up and a 6.
Lovely. Thanks, guys. That's the reaction. And up next is the quiz.
Fulham.
Hello, and welcome back to the Fulham Focus podcast. It's here. It's now. Immortality. Take it. It's yours. It's time for the quiz. All right, gents, here you know the rules here. It's an Everton quiz, and it's 11 points for each of you, or 19 in total if you're playing at home, so pencils at the ready. Now, because, Matt B, you didn't get to go first last time, I'm going to let you pick which set of questions you'd like. Would you like 1 or 2, sir?
2, please.
Okay, round 1, multiple choice. The last time Fulham didn't lose at Goodison Park was in 2004 in the FA Cup, when we were seconds away from a 1-0 win. Francis Jeffers equalised in stoppage time to take the tie to a replay, but who scored the Fulham goal? Was it A, Sean Davis, B, Lee Clark, C, Junichi Inamoto, or D, Sylvain Legwinski?
It was A, Sean Davis.
That is correct. It was Sean Davis. Very well done to you, sir. That is 1 point for the Matt of the B variety. Excellent. Now, and Matt D, you're up. In our first spell in the Premier League, this fixture was won by the home team for how many consecutive seasons? In our first spell in the Premier League, this fixture between Everton and Fulham was won by the home team for how many consecutive seasons? Was it A, 5, B, 7, C, 9, or D, 11?
I was going to go with 8, but that wasn't one of the options, so 7.
Okay, stand by. 7 is the correct answer, mate. Yep, Everton broke the trend on the last day of the 2008-2019 season, winning 2-0 at the Cottage. Leon Osman got both goals, but we didn't care because it was confirmed at full time they are qualified for the Europa League. So, yeah, sod it. Excellent. So, next round, true or false? All right, Matt B. There hasn't been any hat-tricks scored in this fixture since the Premier League began. There hasn't been any hat-tricks scored in this fixture between Fulham and Everton since the Premier League began. True or false?
I've got a feeling that Yakubu scored a hat-trick against us one of those times. So I'm going to say... Sorry, what was the question?
There hasn't been any hat-tricks scored in this fixture since the Premier League began, so you're going to go with false, I imagine.
True. Yes. Sorry, false.
My goodness, man, I'm really confused.
True, I'm going
All right. That is correct. Exactly, mate. You were completely right. Yakubu scored a hat-trick in the 2007 at Goodison Park in a 3-0 win for Everton, unfortunately. Excellent. Okay. So, Matt D, on to you. True or false? Excluding cup competitions, Fulham have only ever played Everton in the top flight of English football.
Oh, tricky.
Question.
I mean, Everton are always in the top flight, aren't they? So I'm going to say true.
That is correct, mate. Everton have never been relegated from the top division. Well done, man. That is so. We're looking at 2 points each at the moment, and I hope everyone at home is doing well too. Excellent. Now, round 3. So, this is the yes or no round, and you can get quite a lot of points here each, lads. So just so you know, no pressure at all. Okay, so Matt B, set 2. Here we go. The question is, did these players play for both clubs? Fulham, obviously, and Everton. Did they play for both clubs? First name is Olivier Decourt.
Yes.
That is correct, mate. Frank Kedru.
No.
That is correct. No is the answer. Matt Smith.
No, he didn't play for Everton.
That is correct too. Tony Warner.
I don't think Tony Warner ever played for Everton. No.
Mate, that is correct as well. You're on a roll here. And finally, Philippe Senderos.
Yes.
Mate, outstanding. That is pretty much everyone got correct. Well done, mate. That is awesome. So, now it's on to you, Mr.
You
D.
don't feel pressure, eh?
Well, mate, it's gonna get worse. Don't worry. So here we go. Paul Bracewell.
Oh, come on. Did he play for? I'm going to say no.
Unfortunately, it's yes, mate.
Great, good start.
Good start, but don't worry, there are more. Marcus Hanneman.
Marcus Hanneman played for Reading, didn't he? No.
Unfortunately, it's yes. He did play for both clubs, sir.
He played for Everton.
Mark Hughes.
No.
That is correct. Ian Pearce.
Yeah, Pearce did.
No, he did not.
Did he not?
No.
Did he not play for Everton?
No.
Jesus. If it helps, I knew all of this.
I know, it would. And finally, Simon Davies.
Yeah, I think he did.
All right, mate. Yes, that is correct. So far, you have got 4 out of 11, and Matt B is on 6 out of 11. Yeah, it's tight, lads. All right, round 4 is the odd one out. Okay, I'll go to you first, Mr. B. Which of these former Fulham players played more games for Everton? Which of these former Fulham players played more games for Everton? Was it A, John Collins, B, Louis Saha, C, Mark Pembridge, or D, Luke Garbett?
Oh, wow. So I'm just going to have a guess. I don't think it was Garbett. I would say it's Mark Pembridge.
Mate, outstanding. It was Mark Pembridge. That's very good. That is 8 points. Well done, mate. All right. It's all on you, sir. Which of these former Fulham players didn't score more goals for Fulham? So which of these former Fulham players scored more goals for Everton than they did for Fulham, basically? All right. Was it A, Terry Phelan, B, Thomas Radinsky, C, Andy Johnson, or D, Brian McBride?
Which one scored more for Fulham?
Which one scored more for Everton?
Oh, okay. Oh man, who are they again?
Terry Phelan,
Yeah.
Thomas Radinsky, Andy Johnson, or Brian McBride?
I'm going to go with Rosinsky.
Mate, that's absolutely correct. Well done. So yeah, he scored 26 goals for Everton and only 17 for Fulham. Excellent. Now, here's the buzzer round. And I think because we still miss him very much, I'm going to make the buzzer noise ream still. Okay, guys? Ream. Now, so round 5, the buzzer round. This is all open to you, so you've got to be fast. You could really redeem yourself here, Matt D. Question 1. Our last visit to Goodison Park ended in a 4-1 defeat. Who scored the Fulham goal that day from the penalty spot?
Ream.
Matt D, is that you?
Yeah.
Go on.
It's got to be Berbatov, isn't it?
It is indeed, mate. Well done. Excellent. Okay, question 2. Fulham's last victory against Everton at Goodison Park came in the club's famous FA Cup run in 1975. Which round was it?
Ream.
Oh.
Matt B.
5th.
It was indeed. Oh, God. This is tight. Question 3. Goodison Park or Craven Cottage, which home ground was opened first?
Ream.
Oh, my God. How do I decide that? Okay. I'm sorry. I think I heard Matt D first. I'm going to have to go for Matt D.
God. I was going to go with the Cottage.
I'm afraid that is incorrect. It was Goodison Park in 1892.
I'd have said the Cottage as well.
Well, there you are. That's fine then. Okay, so Craven Cottage was opened as a stadium in 1896, but the original cottage was dated back to 1780. All right, guys. Well, that's the quiz. So, Matt D, you ended up 9 out of 11. That's Matt B. Sorry, it's awfully confusing. Matt B, you got 9 out of 11, and Matt D, you got 6 out of 11. So not too bad in the end. You redeemed yourself a little bit. I hope everyone at home got a good 19 out of 19. You got to message us if you did, and guess it's all your best. So, Matt B, we're going to be sending you a very special prize. We're going to be sending you a nice Felix McGaff gnome with a block of cheese on his knee, and you can, a beautiful garden ornament, you can just put that next to a nice pond of Breda Hangeland's tears. That'd be great. So there you
Wonderful.
go. We'll be sending that in the post straight away.
I'll send the dogs out first thing so that they can go and christen it.
Nice one. All right, guys, that's the quiz. And coming up, we'll have a bit of a preview.
Fulham.
Hello and welcome back to the Fulham Focus podcast. Right, guys, we're going to have a little quick preview about Tuesday's night's game against Millwall. Now, we were all there for the 3-0 win against them. It was probably one of the best nights I've ever had, to be honest, as a Fulham fan for an away day, let alone as an away day. So, Matt D, what do you think for Millwall? How many exchanges would you expect Slavica to make for Tuesday night's game?
I'd imagine quite a few, knowing how he what he does for cup games. I think he'll rest some of the big performers. Mitrovic, Schürrle, Seri. I can't see any of those starting. I would want to stick to a strong defence just to give them more minutes. And I would imagine he'd rest Bettinelli as well and give Sergio Rico some time. And Brian will probably play because he's completely out of the squad. So I can't see it in a whole new 11. I think he'll still want to see some from some of the first team players. And I certainly hope we don't see all of the kind of reserve team, because I think it's a good opportunity to get a win under our belt. We obviously don't want any injuries, but it's another 90 minutes potentially for the defenders to gel, and that would be kind of my main thing. I'd want to see a consistent defence.
Matt B, over to you. What do you think we should do?
Yeah, I think that nobody that started on Saturday will start at Millwall. I'll just zip through the starting 11 that I've written down without any justification. So Rico in goal, Christie at right back, Brian left back, and I think we'll play Le Marchand. And in actual fact, I lied because I think Mawson will play, and I think that Tim Ream will get a half as well. Then I've gone Anguissa, and I think Cisse, and maybe Matt O'Reilly in three-man midfield. And then I think we'll have Kamara and Ayite up front with De La Torre just behind.
Excellent. I mean, so you're both of the mind, I take it, that actually we should be saving a bit of energy for Saturday's game against Everton, which makes a lot of sense, I suppose. And I just wanted, when it comes to Saturday, do you see us, Matt D, going for that 4-2-3-1 then against Everton? Let's move on to Everton now.
I would be surprised if we started the same way we finished against Watford. Being an away game, we've seen already Slav is kind of fairly defensive with his starting lineups. It didn't really work against Brighton playing Le Marchand at left back, so I don't want to see that again. But I would expect two holding midfielders again, probably McDonald. I think Anguissa will play as well. Johansson will probably be dropped, and it's probably Seri alongside them. I would be surprised if we went with the three up with Mitro, because it being an away game and they're likely to come at us. I'd like to see it because it was effective, and we need, in my opinion, someone further up the pitch to hold on to the ball. But I can't see him doing it.
Yeah. And Matt B, do you think Schürrle could play that number 10 role that we've sort of been talking about in the absence of Tom Kearney?
I think he'd be capable of playing any role that we gave to him, because I think he's an outstanding footballer. But I don't see it. I think he'll continue interchanging between the right and the left-hand side. There's an interesting article in the programme from the Watford game, actually, where he said, I don't need to do a lot of dribbling or passing. I like to be where I can score a goal. I like to be outside the box, inside the box. I've really settled well into the team because I found my position. I've had quite a few shots and I hope to translate them into goals. So whilst I think he could play number 10, I'd rather not risk upsetting him. I think he's a sort of player who plays with a smile on his face. But if he's not happy with the position he's playing, and if he's not happy with the way he's being utilised, then I'm not sure we'll be getting the best out of him.
Yeah, excellent. That's a really good point. And so Goodison seems to be a bit of a bogey ground for us. And as Les Strong says upcoming, I mean, I believe, like him, that we can actually get a result here. I mean, but we're obviously going to have to be very, very cautious about certain players. Matt D, who do you think would be the best person to keep our eye on out of the Everton squad?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because they've had a bit of a dodgy start like we have. And I don't think they've had 6 different defences, but they've certainly, it's 4 or 5 from looking at their lineup. So I don't think Silva is quite sure of his best team. So in that respect, I think we've got a chance. I think Richarlison, even though he started well and he's gone off the boil a little lately, because he was sent off, wasn't he? But he's the sort of player that I think can cause us a nightmare. Like your Wilfried Zaha or your Leroy Sané or Lucas Moura. He's very difficult to deal with for a defence that's already quite uncertain. So I would be, doing my very best to keep him out of the game.
Matt B, can we do it? Can we actually get a win? The stats aren't good, but what do you think?
I mean, you've got to believe, haven't you? You've got to believe you can go and get a result, even if deep down you have big question marks. But like you say, it's been a real bogey ground, and we lost every single game we played up there in the Premier League last time round. But now we've got completely different personnel. We've got a new manager, and we've got completely different players. So whereas before you might play them season after season, and although the team will change slightly, there may be some players left over from the last defeat, and that may rub off. on the other players. But this time, I think it's a completely blank canvas. Last time we were in the Premier League, we got results at Old Trafford, White Hart Lane, Anfield, and we got points at both of Arsenal's grounds and Chelsea. So all the big clubs, Man City, we got results at all these places. So we shouldn't fear any ground to go to. We just need to go there, play our game, play our best team, and just defend for our lives, because they have got pace. So they've got Richarlison, they've got Walcott, they've got Calvert-Lewin, all really pacey players. We really need to have our wits about us defensively. We need to take Watford's lead from last weekend, and we need to try and crowd these players out, not give them too much space or time on the ball. Going forward's not a problem for us. We'll get chances to score, but we just need to really up our game at the back.
Yeah, and hopefully Tim Ream will be back too, and we can probably rest a little bit easier when he's in our side.
If he's back though, even if he's back, I'm not sure you want him starting straight away. It'll probably be eased back in, maybe with 20 minutes here and there, and then started. But who knows?
Throw him in.
Chuck him straight in.
Lord knows we need it, don't we? We really need it.
Oh man. So all right then, score prediction, guys. I'll go to you, Matt Domm. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can get something. And there'll be goals. We'll probably concede our standard 2, even though Watford was one better than that. I'm going to go with 2-2.
All right. And Matt B?
Yeah, I agree that we'll get a point. I think it'll be 1-1. Although I'd like to see somebody other than Mitrovic or Seri or Schürrle score, because they're the only 3 players that have scored so far, and we probably need to start sharing the goals out a bit more evenly as well throughout the team.
Let's not get too picky.
Well, quite, yeah.
Excellent. And actually, you know what? I was going to go for 2-2 as well. I've got a feeling that hopefully there'll certainly be goals from our end on the conceding side, but I've got some good feelings that we're good at away from home. And I know obviously that we're not good at being the boogie side, but I've got a good feeling about this squad in a sort of away capacity. I think we'll do well. All right, so that's the preview over, folks. And after this, we have a little treat for you from the big boss man, is Danny, the gift that keeps on giving, where he has a very special interview with Les Strong.
Fulham.
And welcome back to the Fulham Focus podcast. Now, we have something special for you. Danny, the big boss, caught up with the Fulham legend and former left-back Les Strong this week to talk about our greatest ever result at Goodison Park, the 2-1 victory in the FA Cup 5th round en route to our only ever cup final appearance in 1975, where Viv Busby scored both goals to help us on our way. Over to you, Danny.
I'm now joined by a Fulham legend, the one and only Les Strong. Les, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thanks for joining me, mate.
Hello, Dan. Yeah, pleasure anytime, you know that.
Yeah, I know that, mate. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, all good, thanks, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, you know why you're here today. Everton away. We've never won there in the league, 26 attempts. We've only won there twice at all in cups. In 1948, we won there in a cup. You was on the bench for that one, weren't you?
Yeah,
Apprentice.
still funny, Dan. Well done.
and then 1948, and then we played them again in 1975. And you certainly played in that one. That was the last time we've beaten them at Goodison Park, so hoping your memory holds up, mate. Hoping you can tell us a bit about it.
That's an incredible statistic, really, isn't it? Sometimes, you play against a team and you don't get the right results. I don't think there's anything about Goodison Park. Those results never went right for us. But specifically our one in 1975, I certainly remember that well.
Absolutely. Well, I've got the starting lineup here. Now, do you want to have a guess?
Mellor.
Yeah.
Cutbush, Lacey, Moore, and myself.
Spot on.
Okay. Mullery in centre of midfield. Alan Slough.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Barry Lloyd played that day, but I can give you a couple of more. There'll be Les Barrett, Jimmy Conway, Viv Busby, maybe John Dowie.
Spot on. What I'm working out from this is you've got Alan Slough, you've got Mullery, and you've got John Dowie. Now, to me, that's 3 central midfielders. And then you've got the front 3 of Barrett and Conway either side of Busby. So, I mean, I'm guessing here, but that to me sounds like a Djukanovic formation. It sounds like you went with the wingers supporting the lone striker and packed the midfield.
We did, yeah. Well, we a later date for that game, we certainly did. But a later date, of course, we brought in John Mitchell and Les Barrett, and we ended up playing 4-2 for them because Les Barrett and Jimmy Conway were certainly out-and-out wingers. And it's fair to say that they didn't contribute much defensively. So, but they were both fantastic wingers, amazing players, and Viv up front on his own. So, you know, they weren't very tall players, Les Barrett and Jimmy Conway. So Viv was really a lone striker up there.
Bit like Mitro.
A bit like him, yeah, certainly.
Well, I've seen the highlights of it, and we'll go through that in a second, but it really was a cup upset, wasn't it? Especially away from home, because at the time, Everton were top of the league in the top division, and we were the league below.
I think in all the time in that period, we sort of finished 9th every year, 8th or 9th. We was always 1 or 2 players off probably getting promotion virtually every season. So we were a mid-table team. I think we probably finished mid-table just above that season anyway, but of course the cup turned it all. And Everton were having they had some great players there. You talk about Howard Kendall, players of that calibre that were there, but I mean, if you reeled them off, there was some real quality players at that time.
So it was a massive result on its own. Forget what it went on to become. Travelling up to the game, were you confident? Was the mindset, let's take it back to the cottage? How did you approach it?
Well, it was, if you go through the stats of that year, it was incredible. We kept drawing, as you know, 3 against Hull in the 3rd round, 4 against Nottingham Forest in the 4th round, and plus with your league games. So we was getting a real fixture congestion, and we were actually playing Monday, Wednesday and Saturday for maybe 3 weeks. So we played, I think, Nottingham Forest on the Monday night. We drew. I think we played them on the Wednesday night and we beat them, and because it was getting close to the Saturday, so we played Monday, Wednesday, and then Everton on the Saturday. So we went up by coach, and as we always did, and we were pretty confident. We realised how good they were, but we were certainly looking forward to it, especially with Bobby Moore and Alan Mullery keeping us all calm.
Yeah, it must make a massive difference having them kind of leaders.
Well, they were incredible players, to be fair, and without Alan Mullery and Bobby Moore, we certainly wouldn't have got to the cup final. I
watched the highlights earlier, and when Jimmy Conway ignores the ref's whistle and runs the keeper and taps it into the net and it's offside, he gets booked for arguing, and Alan Mullery runs straight up to him and goes mental, and like as if to say, "What are you doing? Stop being stupid, getting silly bookings." So you could really see the presence of Mullery as like a captain.
Oh, he was an incredible captain. He would, if we weren't playing well, we'd sort of drag players through games. Really, you certainly didn't argue with him. But what a captain he was, and a great player, and still had it. At that time in his career, so did Bobby Moore. So us young players learnt a lot from them. Really, as I say, without those two, we certainly wouldn't have got to the final.
Well, I mean, the first goal was a very scrappy one. It was crossed in by Barrett, I think it was, and Conway sort of got a touch to it. It went under the keeper, and it sort of scrambled into the net. Busby tapped it in on the line. Nothing to really write home about. It was a very, very scrappy goal, but we went 1-0 up. Then, as I said, Conway's goal was disallowed. Do you remember the goal that was disallowed?
I remember it being disallowed. I don't know what it was for, to be quite honest.
Well, it was good coverage actually. It was like watching Match of the Day when I watched it on YouTube, because they had Busby was in the studio with the bloke presenting, so they actually had replays and everything. I couldn't believe it.
Technology, see, we weren't that far behind in those days.
Unbelievable. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't go for VAR, to be honest, because they said it was offside, but when they showed the replay, it was quite clear that it come off an Everton player, so he wasn't offside. It should have stood. So there you go. Alan Mullery was giving him an earful about getting booked for moaning, and he was in the right.
Well, there you go, and sadly Jimmy's in a bad state as well in America. He's got dementia, and he's in palliative care at the moment, so he's in a bad way as well, unfortunately.
It's really sad to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, talking to Jimmy Conway, like, we won't dwell too much on the Everton equaliser, but then the second goal, Jimmy Conway, I've never heard spoken about much, but watching these highlights, unbelievable. Do you remember the goal? Do you want to describe it to me?
Yes. Somehow I got the ball. I think I took it inside, and I think I played Jimmy through on the line, didn't I?
I'm glad you stepped in there because I would have skipped that bit out. But you are right, yeah. You was on the halfway line, or on the sideline, and yeah, you sort of like crossed it infield to.
Slipped in the ball, didn't I? Yeah.
That was it. Like, it was like a through ball. It was.
Through ball. That's
beautiful.
It. Well
it was
spotted.
Like Johnny Ainge. It was.
Well, not quite, but anyway, I was pleased with it.
So really, I mean, we beat Everton because of your creativity, really, your vision.
Well, there were 10 others, but I'll settle for that at this moment in time, Dan. Thanks.
So you play it through for Conway.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think he skipped past the defence. He was very good at going past players, Jimmy. And he got down to the byline and crossed the ball back a little bit. I think Viv collected it around about 12 yards out and rounded a player, I think, and slammed it home, if I remember rightly.
Spot on. Yeah, Conway flicks it over Les Strong with a beautiful pass infield to the on-running
well
Conway.
described, Dan. Well done. You'll go far in this game.
Yeah, so Conway flicks it over the first defender's head, beats the second one for pace, takes him on as well, and he got to the byline and crossed it back, like you said.
Yeah.
But the space he had.
He was in a lot of space. They didn't mark him very well there, thank goodness. But that was, for me, that was probably our best result getting to Wembley. To go away to an Everton team with internationals in it and win at their place. And I mean, statistically as well, that whole cup run, which is still a record, we didn't win one home game.
Yeah.
We won all our games away from Craven Cottage.
It's amazing that the record will never be beaten.
It will never be beaten yet, so we're there for all time, unless they change it again, of course. But what was interesting, which I thought was interesting, I just mentioned about all those games that we played. We were playing Monday, Wednesday, Saturday for 2 or 3 weeks at least. And just about to kick off, and I heard one of their players, I don't know who it was, trying to G the team up. And he said, "Come on, lads, they've been playing all week. They'll be tired. And let's get on the front foot straight away." And I thought to myself, well, I'm not tired. I'm 21 years old and I wasn't tired. So they obviously had it in their mind that because we played 3 games that week, that we might be a bit tired, but we certainly wasn't.
There you go. And that's genuinely what happens with a cup upset, isn't it? It's like the bigger team, a little bit cocky.
I think they were overconfident in that. I think they thought that playing all those games in really short space of time, no time to rest, and nowadays we'd have changed half the squad, I would think, to give them a rest. But we just kept playing, and that was a plus for us that we were playing regularly, the same players and winning. So. We went into that game as the underdogs, the out-and-out underdog, but we felt very confident going into it.
Watching the highlights, we played really well.
We were fantastic that day. That certainly was one of the best results in Fulham's history, I think, at that time.
Do you remember what teams were left in the draw? Were we the only lower league team left?
We were the only lower league team, I believe. I think it was Ipswich, West Ham, us and Carlisle. I can't remember the other two, to be quite honest. Maybe Arsenal. I think Arsenal were still in it.
Birmingham must have been in it.
Birmingham, yeah. And I believe the other team was Arsenal. So, so we were the only Division 2 team left. And I think anyone, even though we beat Everton, I think all the teams were looking to play us. And Carlisle got us at Carlisle. Yeah. And so they must have been fairly confident. And to be fair, they actually outplayed us that day. We were hammered a little bit, and Peter Mellor had the best game of his career and kept us in it. So that was another good result. But and Birmingham, of course, over 2 legs. But still, for me, the Everton away was the highlight of that season, to be fair.
What was it like playing at Goodison Park? Because I would imagine that was the only time in your career, because we were never in the top division in your era.
No, that was, I mean, and it hasn't changed much by the look of it. It's sort of an old-fashioned ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, lovely. You always like to play top team stadiums, and but that wasn't really a spectacular stadium, and it still isn't now. But it'll be nice to go back there and to see it, and I'll be going up for the game.
Well, good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you think it'll be in the players' minds on Saturday? Do you think they'll have a psychological thing?
Not in the slightest.
Well, that's good to hear.
Won't cross their mind in the slightest. If someone said to them, "We've never beaten Everton in the league," then we wouldn't bother them one iota, really.
They'll just ignore it, would they?
They'll completely ignore it, yeah. And so they should.
There you go, ladies and gents. The words are less strong.
Good. I think we can certainly get a result there.
I hope so, mate. Well, I mean, always a pleasure to speak to you. I really appreciate you joining us for that.
That's a pleasure, Dan. And you know that any time, give me a call.
Oh, you're a legend, mate.
Okay, mate. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye.
Fulham. Great interview. And I really hope what Les said about us nicking something could actually happen. He's such a legend. All right. So, guys, any fantasy football tips this week that you've got for us? Matt B, I'll go to you.
Just looking at the fixtures, I see Man City are at home to Brighton. Yeah, I think, Tottenham are at Huddersfield as well. So, you've got to fancy Harry Kane. He's broken his drought and started scoring again. So, Harry Kane or Man City, I really like the look of Bernardo Silva at the moment. He's looking really, really good. So, stick them both in your team if you can afford them.
All right. And Matt D, what do you think?
Yeah, if you want to go with the guy who's bottom of the Focus League, go for it. But this time I'm going for Willy Bolly. I put him into my squad from Wolves. They're at home to Southampton, so I can see them winning 2-0. They've started really well. Willy Bolly is an absolute man mountain. I can't see anything getting past him. And at 4.6 million, he's cheap for a defender as well. You can get him pretty much in the lowest bracket. So, I go for him.
Nice one. All right, guys. Well, that's us all done for another week. Thank you to my co-hosts, Matt D and Matt B. You guys have been great. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes and tell all your friends about us. And next week's show is out on a Tuesday again, where we'll look back on the Everton match and look forward to hosting Arsenal at the Cottage. Big. So that is goodbye from me, and that is goodbye from Matt B.
Cheers, everyone.
Good lad. And that is goodbye from Matt D.
Cheers, JMac.
Nice one, mate. All right, guys. All the best. Thank you very much, and happy autumn to you all. Good night.